PR Connections Radio presents this episode of the PR Connections podcast is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. They can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Hello there, and welcome to the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. And I'm your host, Jesse Oakley III. Now, the purpose of the Sunday Morning Chat Series is for yours truly to interview a plethora of positive people that are making big differences in the communities. Whether they are speakers, authors, writers, entertainers, athletes, community people, whatever it is, you'll hear from them first right here on the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. And today we have ourselves a wonderful episode. And for all the people out there, yes, I belong to a wonderful organization called Toastmasters. And I also wrote a book called Greetings, Happy People, The Positive Words Through the Eyes of Mr. I. Now, it gives me great pleasure to actually interview other fellow authors that we had on this channel. And today we have ourselves a wonderful treat for you. This wonderful treat is a fellow author, and I'm pleased and I'm actually amazed to get a chance to interview this wonderful lady that I've known for quite a while. And she has many books that I'm looking forward to and hearing about. So without further delay, please help me welcome none other than author Rhonda Green. Hey, Rhonda, how's it going?
Good morning, Jesse. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fantastic now that you are here. And I'm very excited to get a chance to interview Rhonda Green. And I just feel very darn good about it. All right, so Rhonda, with that being said, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Let's go for it.
All right, without further delay, let's chat. Now, the first question I do have for you is, you're an author. What were some of the books that you've written as an author?
I have written and published the Sunrises and Sunsets series of books, Surviving the Sunrises and Sunsets, Spectacular Sunrises and Sunsets, and Sensational Sunrises and Sunsets. It's a series of books with life stories from my life with a lesson learned for each episode or each incident in my life.
Truly fantastic, truly fantastic. Now, there are so many people out there that had this vision of actually becoming an author and not going through the hurdle, but the both of us, we had a vision of becoming authors, write our own books, and get a chance to take it step by step and day by day. Could you tell us, when it comes to writing that first book, could you give us that inspiration? Take us to day one, where you go from idea to action and becoming an author.
Well, for me, I have always liked writing stories. And I wanted to write the stories about my life. It's memoirs, but it's stories of my life. I don't mention anybody's names. I don't have to worry about sharing royalties, but it's stories of my life. Good, bad, romance over 40, romance over 60. Okay. Life travels, workplace discrimination, just so many things that I have been through in my life. And I felt that if I could share my stories with the lesson that I learned, maybe it could help somebody else who's going through the same thing.
All right. That's truly fantastic and inspirational. And in addition to becoming an author, going from beginning to the end results can be quite the challenge. And I had my own experiences of writer's block when I wrote Greetings, Happy People. Now, when it comes to being an author, what were some of the challenges that you faced and that you were able to overcome in actually getting to the end result?
Okay, Jesse, I only had one challenge because I started writing my books during the pandemic when I was laid off, had nothing else to do, so I might as well sit up and write those books I always wanted to write. My challenge was pushing the button to publish. I had already had a little paper on the side to where I would write down a little bit of different incidents. I would just write the stories, just write. Then I had to decide which order I wanted them in because I didn't want a lot of sad stories together because you don't want your reading audience to go down low without pulling them back up. So writing it, typing it, editing it, for me, that was not an issue. The problem is after I decided to split it up into three books instead of just one book, was sitting in there in front of the computer. My sister from Fort Worth, Texas, called me on the phone. She said, "How's that book going?" I mean, she was go for it, go for it. I said, "It's going okay." She says, "How many times have you edited?" I said, "Let's see." I said, 20. She says, "What's holding up?" I said, "I'm nervous." She said, "Rhonda Florence, push the button." I took a deep breath, I pulled it up, and I pushed the button. But that was the hardest thing for me to do because we're all afraid that who's going to want to read it? How am I going to market this? How am I going to get it out? Is what I wrote something that people will really benefit for? We all have that little bit of self doubt about it. Let me tell you, push the button. Push the button. It's not that hard. Put it together and do it. Do it. And then you can be a published author also.
And I tell you what, pushing a button is a great idea. And it reminds me of the wise words of wisdom through the online mentor, Evan Carmichael. You have to do it scary when it's scary, difficult, and hard. But especially with being scary, difficult, and hard, some people may think that pushing a button could be very scary and difficult and hard. But when you push a button, you realize, hey, it's not that bad at all. And that way, that barrier that's right there that you've overcome is not hidden in the button, but also right here in the mind. And that mindset, if you're able to jump over that and just realize that's not too bad, then it starts getting better over and over again. So there's no shame. And when it comes to actually pushing a button and hiding people, you just heard it right here. Always, if you ever go through anything, if you want to be over that fence and over that hump, remember, similar words with Rhonda, push the button and you'd be amazed with what happens afterwards. All right. Now, Rhonda, that is truly fantastic and phenomenal. And we talked about the challenges that overcome, especially with pushing the button. Now, we're going to go right into the best moments of being an author. I've had plenty of best moments of being an author myself. And my question to you is, what were some of the best moments you experienced in becoming an author?
One of the best things I experienced is when I started marketing, I put my book, it is the background on my Facebook. I
Ah,
put it there. I put the link to my, and my friends and family and people that I know started pushing the button. When I would go to my Toastmasters conferences, they say, "Rhonda, you got your book. I want to buy your book." Oh, that first time that I got to sit there and autograph my book, that was wonderful. The first book I got when I published the paperback, I still have it. I saved it. I put it in a shadow box frame and it's on my wall. That's my book wall. Because once you publish one book, the second, third, fourth, fifth, eighth, tenth just follow the same pattern, you know. But it was just such a joy. And my first book fair was in Wichita, Kansas. I live in St. Louis, Missouri.
all
I
right.
went to Wichita, Kansas. It was sponsored by a local newspaper. I got some people to come and help me because we got to do a reading from our book. And one of my helpers was supposed to tape me while I was reading one of the stories. Well, he came over to tape me, and then all of a sudden, while I was talking, people got up and went and bought the book you know. Then they had to come back after I finished my interview to order. I said, but that was just awesome. They just gave me so much confidence that yes, I can do this thing. And I will tell you, if I can do that thing, you can too.
Ooh, that is truly fantastic, and that is truly a remarkable moment, especially after pushing the button. That way, after you push a button, you have all this happening for you. The best moments are right there. They're ready to go after you push the button.
Mhm.
All right, now my next question to you is: I'm sure that you have plenty of people that bought your book, and there are some people that are also aspiring authors that are out there. And let's just say that you're at one of these book signing events, and people are you're autographing a book, and there's this young writer, this novice, that's hopefully being an aspiring author that says, "Rhonda, I read many of your books. You really inspire me. You're a true inspiration. And I want to be an author just like you. You really gave me the motion and courage to actually take step forward and actually write my own book. And I want to be in your shoes. Now, if you were to meet someone like that when you're autographing your book, what advice would you give that aspiring author?
Stop thinking about, I want to be an author. Sit down and start writing your book. Whether you record it, whether you type it, whether you write it, you've got to write it. Okay? That is the hardest thing for most people to do because they have to get over that fear they have that nobody will want it. There are so many different types of books out there. If you publish it, there is going to be someone other than your family that is going to want your book. Stop thinking about one of these days. Take it off of that. One of our friends called it that someday shelf.
Yep.
Take it off that someday shelf and do it. You cannot accomplish it if you don't start writing.
And I tell you now, I look at the calendar and I don't see someday on the calendar. Yeah, I see Sunday, we're having Sunday morning chat series. Then I see the Monday, the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's 7 days a week. And out of those 7 days, I do not see someday on a calendar right there. So I can tell you right now that the time is now, and you just got to do it. And let's reverse back and say again, push the button.
Yeah.
Push the button. Oh my goodness. And once you're able to do that, you realize that someday is a myth, a figment that's right there in your head, right there. So it's always best to actually take it and just do it right now. So if you're able to do that, do it right now and become an author. So that is a great advice that you want to have for those aspiring authors right there. Now, let's say that people want to know where they can actually purchase your book. Where actually, let's say there's someone out there that says, I really want to purchase Rhonda Green's book and her books that are out there. Is there any place that they can go to actually get the copies of your books?
Yes. Number one, my books are on Amazon. Everybody knows how to get to Amazon. But I have my own website. It's tinyurl.com/RG Sunrises because it's the Sunrises and Sunset series. You know, it had a real long title, but I said, oh, no, let's give it a little shorter. That's why we use the HTTPS and use the Tiny Url. That makes it so much easier to find.
Now, when you say Tiny Url, it's Tiny, TINYURL.
Yes,
Because
.com. Mm-hmm.
tinyurl.com, because I can imagine someone out there typing in tinyEARL.com. It's like, who the heck's Tiny Earl?
Like I said, you can go to Amazon.com, put in Sunrises and Sunset series, Rhonda Green. It'll bring up the ebooks and it'll bring up the paperbacks.
Fantastic, phenomenal. So if you're out there, check it out on Amazon, and it's Tiny URL, not EARL. So if Tiny Earl responds to you, just say, I'm sorry, I'm looking for a URL. All right. Now, the next portion of the episode is our shout out portion. And it gives you a chance to give a shout out to people that made your journey possible. If you'd like to give a shout out to anybody that's out there that made you the author that you are today, who would you like to give a shout out to?
I would like to give a shout out to my Toastmasters clubs because it's a place where you can speak, tell your stories. I used my Toastmasters clubs to read my story and get feedback from them. Now, remember this, feedback is just that person's opinion. Sometimes it's things you want to use, sometimes it's things you don't. I have a new story that I'm putting in an anthology with another group. It's about my Las Vegas honeymoon. So I'm a member of a club in Las Vegas. So I read that story to them and they said, but you don't talk about all the pretty lights and this is that and the other. I said, we arrived in the daytime. There were no pretty lights, right? They said, well, you didn't say anything about all of the noises and the dings and stuff going off when you go in the casino. So I added that in there. And I put in there, unfortunately, I did not get to see that beautiful sunset, that beautiful picture that you always see on TV about Las Vegas at night with all the lights? I said, because we arrived in the daytime. I said, but when we left, it was evening and we finally got to see it. So that was feedback that I could incorporate. On another story, they were saying, oh, well, what was that meal that you had in Jamaica? I said, I don't remember. That was back in 2006. Okay. All I can remember is that I didn't like the rice dish. Okay. These are my memoirs. And I like I said, sometimes people will give you feedback to help you, but it's a wonderful place to get out there and put your ideas out there. Put your story. Read all over the United States. There are several Toastmasters clubs that concentrate on aspiring authors and aspiring authors. That's one. We have one that's called Writers Inc. There's so many different ones, but it's a place that you can go. You can practice, get ready for interviews, just like we're doing today. There's so many things you can learn about public relations, marketing. There is so much in that $60 for 6 months that you could benefit from. And I did, and I still do.
And I tell you, to know more about Toastmasters, go to www.toastmasters.org. Go to find a club, find a location, type in any city that you can, and there will be a club near you. And if you're looking for different specialized clubs, they're near you, especially with that wonderful authors, inspiring authors, Toastmasters Club and Writers Inc. that Rhonda just mentioned. That's truly two amazing, fantastic clubs if you want to be a writer and an author. Now, my last question for you is addressed to my crowd and my crew and the people that watch this episode, and they're known as the happy people. And after each episode, the happy people, they're inspired and amazed by the wise words of wisdom that were given from my guests. So if you have some wise words of wisdom from my crew and my people, the happy people, what would it be?
All right, happy people. Everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
Hey, repeat that one more time, please. I don't think the happy people here in front of back. Please say that one more time.
Everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end.
Woo! Oh my goodness, Rhonda. That is the perfect bookend to a wonderful episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. And on behalf of all the happy people that are watching this episode, I thank you for taking time out to be here on the Sunday Morning Chat Series. All right, and this concludes this episode of the Sunday Morning Chat Series. For more information, please check out prconnectionsradio.com. But wait, there's more. You can actually check out other podcasts that are out there. Just go to YouTube and type in PR Connections, and you'll see plethora of podcasts that includes the Sunday Morning Chat Series with Jesse Oakley III. But wait, there's also more. You can actually go to YouTube and type up Sunday Morning Chat Series, and you'll see a plethora of episodes that go back from 2020, 2021, 2024 to right here in 2025 from amazing people making big differences in the community. And on behalf of Rhonda and myself, this is Jesse Oakley III saying, until next time, I hope to see you at our next episode, which will take place Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Take care, happy people. Until then, have a good day. Bye.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.